T minus 1 minute. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Own it, own it, own it, Kong. I own it. It did.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.
Hello, everyone. How are you guys?
Hi. I don't know. I feel like StreamYard be doing stuff. Last week, it was doing things on its own. So
She hates me. She hates me.
Never.
But yes, welcome, you guys. The dynamic duo's back together. This is another episode on Women's Wrestling Talk podcast, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. And we are here with this is actually a special episode, and I was excited to see it. And it's always great to kind of hear from, Maria Kanellis-Bennett and just her vision on, Women's Wrestling Army, like as a whole. How are you?
I am I'm doing well. We got a chance to catch up before we started, and life is doing its thing, but working through it. But I'm excited that you are back. And before we even get started, first of all, want to thank Stephanie Hardy for joining me last week and filling in for Shay. Really appreciate it. And please check out the interview that we did with Bobby Cruz, the one, Bobby Cruz, from Women's Wrestling Army and also Ring of Honor. It was really great. And then the week before, we had Alyssa Marino on as well. And so we were really excited. So go back, listen, watch those. Really excited. So yeah.
Yes.
How are you?
I ain't dead, so that's good. Oh,
Amen.
my God. Hello, George. How are you today? How are you?
Hello.
Is that King Mackie Mac? Hey, what's going on? I follow you too. I think I follow you too. Look at that. We have something in common here.
All right.
I did, and I will talk to you about that later, George. But right now, we're getting into some Women's Wrestling Army.
Yes, we are. So you want to get into it?
I do. Okay, so right from the beginning, we start off with, May 1st, 2022. We have Maria Kanellis-Bennett standing in the middle of the ring and kind of just like introducing, kind of like opening up to, what is, it's history, basically. What were your thoughts about just like the whole feeling? And you could see all the emotion kind of in her face and how much this meant to her. And I liked seeing that. How do you feel about that?
I thought, so for those of you who, if you got a chance to watch it, you might have seen that, her before. You might have seen that before. And that's because it's a special episode, right? Which we're going to get into. It's Alyssa interviewing Maria, but that moment with Maria standing in the middle of the ring and really talking about what Women's Wrestling Army means to her and like what it's taken for her to get to that point. Like it was emotional. And of course we had seen it before, right? We'd seen this before, but it was really cool just to, from when we started, some weeks back to seeing that again now. It's like, oh yeah, like she really has like put a lot into this. Not that we didn't think before, but it's taken a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get to this point. And so so I was emotional with her. So I think more so than the first time that I saw it. What about you?
No, yeah, I feel the exact same way. And I'm glad you put that middle photo because literally the joy, like you could just see it pouring out through her. And I just thought it was so cute. So I'm glad that you caught this because I was like, oh, I hope she gets this screenshot because the joy, it was really nice to see.
Mm-hmm.
So then we move on after, the opening credits, which I love. I love the opening credits, but that's another story for another day. We see Alyssa Marino and Maria Kanellis-Bennett. Obviously, they were going to start with, the interview process. And, of course, Alyssa has to be like the first lady professional wrestling. And then she was our fearless leader. I love that she said that because, Maria is our fearless leader for this brand. So it was cute.
Mm-hmm.
And also I believe Maria did say something. She said, Women's Wrestling Army, it's going great and has surpassed everything that she could have thought that it would. And I honestly, for me, it is one of my favorite things to watch. So I am inclined to agree here. How do you feel about when she said that?
I mean, look, I gathered these photos right here that you see, and you can really see the joy that Maria has for, again, like for Women's Wrestling Army and what she's done so far. So like, yeah, I think that I don't know. I really enjoyed this beginning segment, especially when Alyssa gets into interviewing Maria, because you really get a sense of, who she is and outside of the ring and what, like ultimately, like what she wants, like what her goals are and things like that. Obviously we'll get into that a little bit later, about what's next for Women's Wrestling Army. But I think for me, it's made me, after interviewing Alyssa, after interviewing Bobby, it's made me, it's more personal, right? It's a little bit more personal. So yeah, sorry, I don't mean to drag on.
That's fine. I also liked that they did kind of touch on the big main event match that they have been promoting heavily for, I'd say, the last 2 to 3 weeks, which is Masha Slamovich versus Jordan Blade versus Janai Kai. So now we know next week we are 100% getting that. And I'm very excited. And I believe Alyssa said it was from the Anywhere You Land event. So, that's nice that we're getting, the rest of those matches and seeing how they set out. How do you feel? Like, I'm really excited about this. Like, these are 3 really good competitors and they don't quit easily. So this is going to be very intense. What were your thoughts on this match?
I'm really excited. I'm really, really excited about this. And I'm glad that we've had, their promos and, these video packages leading up to the match to really show. I'm so sorry. I'm looking at Jordan. I got her with her eyes closed, but you know what? You know what? You're looking good. Again, we talked about, these 3 wrestlers and how they each 3 bring something different to the table. Masha, I believe, was just, I think she just won GCW championship, I believe, this past weekend. So like she's coming. I mean, obviously this was recorded before that, but knowing, Masha, super strong. Same with Jordan, same with Janai, and they're all 3 bringing different things to the table. And I'm so very excited. I'm excited about this one. And then they also are doing a double main event with Queen Aminata and Sky Blue, which we will talk about as well.
Yeah, I'm excited about those double main events. Like, those are matches I'd pay to see anywhere. And George, just to touch on this, I see them wherever they decide that they want to be, because that's how talented they are. Honestly, wherever they want to be, Sky's the limit. Trust. I feel that.
Yes. Can I touch on this? Women's wrestling is the second hottest thing on TV other than my tribal chief. I mean, listen, I'm gonna leave it. I love the tribal chief as well. So I don't know. It's a toss up.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I'd probably say women's wrestling for me. Like that's something that's kind of molded me. But you know what? He's up there, okay?
Yes.
So we get our first after the first question, we have Alyssa then ask, how did Maria feel in that moment on, opening for the first show? And in the beginning she said she was nervous and she didn't know what she was going to say. That to me is so, I can't even believe that she would say that, because all the things that I've seen Maria do, for her to be like, yeah, I was nervous, I didn't know what I was going to say. I'm like, really? Like, I don't know. I just don't expect it from her, because I feel like she's always just kind of delivered, like, especially when it comes to talking. I think she's great with her words. So just to hear that, I don't know, it's cool. It's cool that she's so open to say, you know what, I was nervous, I didn't know what I was going to say. It's very like authentic to me. So I like that she said that. And I also wanted to touch on a quote that she said that just meant so much to me. So I'm going to read it. It's more than wrestling. It's more than a storyline. It's a fight I've been a part of for 19 years, and a fight I've been a part of since I was 12. When I was told I couldn't do things because I was a girl, and still this many years later, I get told no because I'm a woman, or because there's no good examples of people like me in this industry. I love that. I really love that. And it touched me. Like, it really touched me in a different way. That's why I was like, I have to take it down and I must speak about it, because it's the truth. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've been told no my whole life about things, not just anything. And it's disheartening, and just hearing her say that and be so open about it, it was a beautiful moment. But what were your takeaways from that quote, and just, her answer about, what Alyssa asked her?
You know what? I actually wrote it down. I didn't write the whole entire quote down, but I did make a note of that as well. That the fact that she has, still comes up against these challenges, after 19 years, in the business, and hearing how she said that she got a lot of no's because there are no good examples, people telling her there are no good examples of this working. So just being told no. And of course, like it's very relatable. Obviously, we know what that feels like. And then doubly being Black women, like we know what that feels like, right? Like that's just, it's there, it's prevalent. And I think there is something that can be said for, for people who constantly, persist. No matter what, you have a dream in your heart, you have an idea, you have a thing, you keep pushing and pushing. And so, that's always inspiring. And yeah, that's what I got.
That was good. That's on the spot. This is on the spot, guys.
On the spot. But look at King Mackie Mac talking about, sorry, I rephrased that. LOL, women's wrestling's number one. I acknowledge y'all. Thank you. We appreciate that. Okay. Hi, JD. 19 years, same as Ella J. Y'all constantly, poor Ella, she, homegirl is constantly just getting ate up because of her age. And you know what? That's all right.
So, you know what? Get it done whenever you can, But now moving on, Alyssa Marino then kind of touches on the partnerships, with Women's Wrestling Army, and how that has helped towards the growth. And she kind of spoke on two specific times of, when Kayla Sparks defended her CCW Network Championship, and the Hex, when they also defended their NWA tag titles as well, which led us into kind of going back on a match that we did get to watch, and we were raving about it. But how do you kind of feel about Alyssa bringing up how influential the partnerships have been for Women's Wrestling Army and their growth?
I'm glad that she mentioned that. I think that it's great that she's, partnered. I know we said this like the first or second episode, that it was great that she's partnering with these other promotions to, you know, to have these women showcased in that way, because not every promotion is doing that, right? Like we know, specifically, WWE doesn't do that, right? Like, so it's great that all these other promotions are like, yes, if we're not utilizing our wrestlers at the moment, or if they want to go up against people that they may not have the opportunity to do so in Women's Wrestling Army, they can. And I think that only strengthens, that relationship between wrestlers who may not have met, even though a lot of them, obviously have been seeing each other on the independent circuit, right? And so, but there are still, newer people that they may not know very well. And so I think that having this platform specifically for them to be able to do that and showcase, I think that's great. And I think it's, hopefully, in the future, I mean, I don't know. I don't foresee WWE doing that, but like, I hope that she's able to get the participation of other promotions as well, to showcase, because some of these people, like, people are seeing them for the first time. Like me, I've seen some of these wrestlers for the first time. This is the first time I've seen Janai Kai. Though she's been doing her thing, it's made me go back and want to watch more of her matches. And so, I think that it can be a great gateway, like it was for me. I don't know. What do you think? Sorry, I feel like I'm rambling today. I'm so sorry.
No, we love the rambles over here. Okay. I think I 100% agree, because I would love to see more, people who haven't even been in there. And there's people that I wasn't aware of that I have, found through Women's Wrestling Army. So I agree. I think there should be more people from outside, coming in, and from any promotion. And I think obviously we will see more of that in the future. I think they're just it's like there's no end. So much possibility. There's no end.
No.
Yeah, exactly. So now I'm gonna touch on this match. I know we did review, but this was a really good match. So I don't mind to talk about it again. Okay. So starting off, we spoke on the fact that Willow and Holiday did not get along whatsoever. Willow is all positivity. Holiday is all realism, which isn't always positivity when you're dealing with that. So right away, we had Willow had Allison Kay in a waist lock, which Allison rolled through and got her into an ankle submission, which I always found that to be a really cool kind of reversal from a waist lock. How do we get here? Holiday and Marty Bell have a test of strength, which leads to Holiday giving a very vicious headbutt. Well, one thing I will say about Holiday that I love is, like, there's so many layers to Holiday. Like, it's like you're terrified of Holiday, but also Holiday is the funniest person ever. Like, it's a great balance, honestly. It just makes, it's just great. But how did you feel about that whole, like, beginning sequence and just Holiday? And how do you feel about Willow,
it's so funny, them giving us the highlights from this match. By the way, this is from episode, hold on, I wrote it down. This is from episode 4 of Women's Wrestling Army, if you want to go back and check it out. It was so funny because watching this, it very much tied into the fact that later on we see the Hex being like, hey, these tag teams are just thrown together. And I was like, yep, here we go, right? With like Holiday and Willow, which, again, the opposites, but it was difficult for them to work together. And I was like, yeah, I guess they are right? So yes, I really found it interesting, just that aspect. But then going back and seeing this, the beginning of this match again, like, it was hilarious. It was really funny. I chuckled. I don't know.
As you should. You deserve that chuckle. So then we have Marty hit a pump kick, then tagged in Allison Kay for a flurry of hits in the corner at the expense of, I believe, Holiday. Allison slapped the absolute life out of Holiday. I wrote in my note here, I said, my God, that's how hard it was. Holiday eventually got her lick back when she knocked Allison off the apron. Willow had Marty on her shoulders and hit Holiday by accident, which caused the dissension. This is where all okay, honestly, I feel like Holiday from the beginning was like not on board. Then when she got kicked in the head, 100% not on board anymore. And just was looking for a reason to be mad at Willow, and Willow was trying to be apologetic. It wasn't working that way. What did you think about when it started to really unravel?
Again, this whole entire thing, the highlights, I was like, oh yeah, this was just really funny. And really, it was funny, and it was also really good match. Like, it was still really good, even though like Holiday and Willow did not meld together. And yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was funny. It was fun. It was a fun, good time. JD, do people headbutt at least wipe first, sir? Please.
To the corner for 5 seconds. The corner. Please. Oh my goodness. So after that, Holiday at that point felt slighted. So by the accidental hit, and then chooses not to tag Willow in at a point where you needed to be tagging someone in because you was getting double team beat up. You need to tag, but because Holiday is stubborn, she did not, which caused Allison Kay, who just got tagged in, fresh as a daisy, to get to where she needed to be, and got beat up. And then Marty Bell tagged into a neck breaker. You see what I'm saying? Tag your partner, Holiday. Tag your partner. Willow hits the pounce on Marty Bell and breaks up a pin that they had on Holiday because Holiday was getting beat up because Holiday did not want to tag. Willow hits a Death Valley driver. Allison then hits a big boot. This is like toward the end of the match. Holiday hits a face first slam. Willow kicks Holiday by accident again. And Allison rolls Willow up for the win. The Hex wins, as we know. But, it was nice to go over this match because this was a fun match. And it was just funny and competitive. It was everything. Okay, what do you think about just everything as a whole and that ending?
Again, hilarious and just so unserious. Like Willow, Holiday, Willow, so unserious. I too like Marty Bell and Allison Kay. Again, we've gushed about them and our love for them and how well they work together. Seeing them in AEW, WWE, or Impact, I guess we will see. I don't know. But overall, the Hex, they got the win because they're amazing. And I don't think that we will see Holiday and Willow together ever again. So, but y'all go back and watch episode 4 if you want to revisit this match.
Yes, and I believe that they are right now going strong in Impact. So as you said, George, as you said, I mean, they're amazing. They're useful wherever they are. There's a need for them, no matter what the brand is. So I'm happy for that.
Yes, and I think Holiday, I think you brought up WoW, George. I think you brought that up. I think Holiday she's with WoW, Women of Wrestling right now, I believe.
Actually should. I love Holiday. I'm sorry. I know I say at least once a week. Yes. I need you to just reiterate. I'm sorry. Oh, man. So now we go back to the interview. We have Alyssa Marino asking, what does the idea of collaboration look like over the course of Women's Wrestling Army in their journey? She listed a few that they've already worked with, which was Mission Pro, AEW, CCW, Impact Knockouts. I mean, with the knockouts, Jesus, not Impact Knockouts, you know what I mean? And NWA, of course. So it's cool to already see kind of a list, and I feel like the list is longer than that, honestly. But, gotta be modest here, okay? And so Maria kind of says that Bobby and herself decided on that from the beginning, and just to show where everyone came from, because that's important. Like, their accolades are important. It's not, they don't want to pretend like they just came from the Blue Lagoon or something. Like, they came from somewhere, and that's important to, showcase that, which I loved. I thought that was a great thing. I don't understand why sometimes it's like they don't acknowledge where they came from or the accolades that they've had in previous places. I think that's just not helpful. And you should always, that stuff just deserves to be showcased. So I love that she said that. But how do you feel about her answer?
I want to add that she did say that there was, hold on, let me see. Let me pull up my notes. She says showcase where they came from. And she said it doesn't matter if it's a championship from like a smaller promotion, from like the backwoods, from wherever, right? Because everyone is getting their starts from somewhere, a promotion that no one's ever heard of, right? Like everybody's getting their start from somewhere. And she wants to acknowledge that, if you're a champion in that market, then that is just as important. And to honor that. So I thought that was really awesome. Yeah.
No, I totally agree with that. I really did love that. This is just this lady is relentless. So now they put us into a match kind of to showcase the collaborations that go on, and through that person was Deonna Purrazzo. Obviously I was shocked as well when I saw that Deonna popped up, and it was the match that she had with Tasha Steelz and Lainey Luck, who is someone I just love. Lainey Luck, and I even said it here, I said I want to see more of Lainey Luck. Like, she's so good. She's so good. Like that, like lucha background comes through like in everything like that she does in that ring. So I definitely am such a fan of Lainey. Obviously the other women, of course, like that's like, but Lainey, I have to say, I just have to bring it up. Like I'm such a fan. How do you kind of feel about us going back over this match and how everything kind of went down with it?
It's funny revisiting these matches to see like how my knowledge has grown from then till now, and like how I've, seeing more of these wrestlers, their matches. It's really cool. When I went back and watched it, I was like, oh yeah, like now I know more things. I forgot how much I enjoyed this match, that this was really, really good. And I also think this was, I don't know, this is from actually, so you all know, this is from episode 5. Right. So this is from episode 5, Women's Wrestling Army. Go back and watch. George says, oh man, Deonna Purrazzo, I was hoping she would join Chelsea Green and return to WWE. Well, hey. So watching this match, I thought it was just really good. I thought it was really well done on for all three of them. And, Maria talks about how things happen, right? We know that Deonna was supposed to wrestle against Ashley Vox. Yes, thank you. I was like, I blanked out for a second, and how that didn't happen, and how they kind of had to, rework it. But this turned out being one of their better matches, in my opinion. And yeah, I don't know.
No, yeah, it was very good. I loved the part where kind of Lainey used Tasha as a springboard, like kind of grabbed her hand, used her to go up on the ropes, and then did a crossbody onto Deonna. I thought that was so cool. And then the gator roll into the suplex on Tasha. Lainey was showing out, okay? Deonna at some point pulled Lainey out the ring, and, Deonna and Tasha had to get their, one-on-ones, which we got the little iconic torque from Deonna. And, Tasha hitting, the head scissors, Tasha and Deonna deciding to work together midway through, even though they were fighting each other. And it was like, you know what? Let's backtrack here. But in the end, Deonna hits the Fujiwara arm submission, and Lainey tapped. Yeah, I really enjoyed this match. A really, really good match. Like, I mean, and what do you expect with these three women, to be honest? I wasn't expecting nothing bad, to be honest. I just love the Fujiwara arm submission. It's just so pretty looking. Look at it. It's pretty. I know it sounds crazy to me to say this. Wrestling fans understand. You say it looks pretty, okay? I swear it does.
It looks pretty. Yeah, overall, just a really, really good match.
Honestly, great. And I love that they use this to showcase, how they have, these different connections and collaborations with different brands. So that was very cool to see as well. And then we are met with another match. We have Queen Aminata versus Janai Kai, episode 13. Now, we actually haven't gotten to this one yet.
Which we probably will, I'm guessing, once, the season of Women's Wrestling Army goes on hiatus, we'll continue on where we left off from the previous season. So, but yeah, this is episode 3, which is episode 13, Queen versus Demon. And so you have Queen Aminata versus Janai Kai. Oh man. I'm glad we got the highlights, and now I have to go back and watch the full thing, because what a really, really, really great match. Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was so good. Shay, what did you think?
Oh my gosh. No, I really loved it. Like, they were like trying to really get each other. And it's not often, not saying, like, I feel like Janai definitely had Queen's number, and I don't see often that people have Queen's number, you know. So it was very, very cool to see you know, the snap suplex by Queen. Like, everything she does is just so like precise and just like to the point, if that makes sense. Like, I'm such a fan, and you know, I've since the first time I saw Janai Kai at the House of Glory show, I've been a fan as well. So this was a great matchup for me. The kicks, when Janai kind of no-sold the kick to the spine, I said, oh, you different, because me, I'm in the hospital already. Already in the hospital. My back cannot take much, okay? It cannot. But like,
Demon for a reason.
Listen, I'm trying to tell you. And kind of a Queen, then, you know, it was a lot of back and forth in this match. I love the chaos kick. That's always a highlight for me. And then kind of like Queen kind of reversing into a slam, then into the juicy lock. I love the juicy lock. Like, the juicy lock. Then, you know, Queen hit the double stomp, which Kai kicked out of. I was like,
yeah.
All right. And then that's when we got the tornado kick. I love the tornado kick. Like, love Janai. When Janai won, I was like, wow, because honestly, again, I don't see a lot of people that have Queen's number. I back Queen so much. Like, she's so talented. But how do you kind of feel about how it ended, and that, you know, Janai kind of going over? How'd you feel about that?
I mean, I'm with you, where it is very difficult for anybody to get over on Queen Aminata. But I think that this was, I don't know, I don't feel like it was not earned, because we know the power of Janai Kai. We know we talk about how she gets better and better every single match that she has. She's looking better and better. And I don't think, again, I think that, though I go with my Queen Aminata, I did not mind that Janai Kai won this one, because I love her too. I think that she's fantastic. So yeah, this is a great match. I cannot wait to go back and watch the full thing. So y'all check it out as well if you haven't seen it, episode 13.
So, you know, I wanted to ask, because you say that. So who are you pulling for? Who are you backing for the triple threat?
Oh, you know what? This is tough. It's tough, because I like Janai Kai, but also being recently introduced to Masha Slamovich, I'm like, wow, I don't, like, you know what I mean? Like, she's doing the thing. And then you have Jordan Blade, who's just, I feel like out of all three of them, Jordan is the one she seems to be more like soft-spoken, but when she gets in the ring, it's like, you know, she's just going in. So I don't know. I do not know. I don't know. I might, right now, I'm going to say Janai. It's like between Janai and Masha, but I might change my mind. I don't know. What do you think, Shay? Who are you?
See, I kind of said the last time when we kind of saw the kind of backstage, you know how they do the little kind of getting to know the wrestlers?
Yes.
I liked what they did for Jordan Blade, and just kind of getting to know, you know, her on a different level. It made me feel like I want to pull, because for me, from that, watching it, felt like Jordan Blade was the hungriest. That's just what I was getting from it. So right now, I feel like I'm back in Jordan Blade, even though they're all amazing, though. Like, they're all, like, it's just something about, like, that whole getting to know Jordan Blade a little bit deeper, and just hearing, you know, the words and, you know, everything. It just kind of made me a believer.
And that's awesome. And that is the power that is the power of a good promo, a good video package, right? Like that is the sign of a great. And shouts out to Maria. Bobby let us know last week that Maria is very much involved in these interviews and getting that out of the wrestlers. So yeah. So shout out to her.
Yeah, and if I could just for a second, because I know it's like we have to go over one thing, but since this is something that Alyssa Marino did touch on, it was basically Alyssa asking, if having the wrestlers speak, on their characters and inspirations was something Maria always had in mind, and Maria obviously says yes, says that she thinks people work best when they're raw. I loved that line because it's true, you understand people on a deeper level when they're raw and real and open in that way. And she said also when they're fighting, like with what they're fighting for is hanging off their sleeve. Like it's so apparent.
Mm-hmm.
I liked that. And she also said, I just want to say a few quotes she said as well. It's not about making stories. It's about the stories that are already there. Beautiful. And then another one was, even the toughest competitor is fighting for something that is so deep that maybe, she herself could not understand before, but when she hears it from them and hears them tell the story, you get a little glimpse of what that life is like. I love that. How did you kind of feel about everything she said regarding that? Because I feel like it was so great. It was really good.
I think it was very accurate, right? And that's kind of why I have all these photos, right? She was, as she was talking about that, a lot of these pictures were coming up and you see all these people with their different stories from Tasha and Maserati. And you have, Taya Valkyrie, we see Lufisto, we see Bobby right there in the middle, who is, right there in the middle of it and really controlling kind of the actual day of matches. You see Masha and Gia, and then Queen Bee in the backstage with Gia as well, when I think it's Gia, or was it Trisha Dora? I was like, who is I think it's Trisha Dora, possibly, I don't know. When she hurt herself, it was Gia. You remember it was their match? Yes, thank you. Look, I looked at Shay and I was like, no, it was for their rematch because Brooke got hurt, and then it's all of these stories that I think Maria's right, that it's not just the wrestlers, but it's everybody who is, it's a collaboration. And I think everyone's stories, whether you're in front of the camera or behind the camera, I think that's what is going to propel everyone to have a better product, including the wrestlers, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, if that all made any kind of sense.
No, it made a bunch of sense. Okay. So we're kind of at the middle, not too much middle part. So we definitely want to share this commercial with you guys. So after this commercial, we'll be right back with you guys.
Yep.
Hey peeps, TK Trinidad here, boss lady of Women's Wrestling Talk. And I want to say thank you so much for watching, because you've got millions of options. Plus, you don't have to worry about sharing your password to check us out. But while you're here, hopefully we have so many more shows to watch, like Turnbuckle Glam, Raw Post Show, WOW Post Show, AEW Dynamite Post Show, Women's Wrestling Army Post Show, NXT Post Show, Impact Wrestling Post Show, AEW Rampage and SmackDown Live Post Show, On the Scroll, ROH Post Show, WWT Live, plus all of our interviews with the hottest women's wrestlers in the game. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. Check out our website at www.talkpod.com and follow us on all social media platforms at www.talkpod, and make sure to spread the word. That means send this to the group chat. Yes, even the person with the green bubble. Thanks again so much for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Ciao for now.
I'm obsessed with that commercial.
Mm-hmm.
I can say that. But I do want to go back to after what Maria had to say in regards to the match between Janai Kai and Queen Aminata. So they said how they really held this match in high regard. With obvious, just from the highlights, I'm like, that's obvious why. And also saying how the crowd was such a big factor in the love for the match, because they were so invested with every, you know, move, everything that was going on. She also said it was one of the hardest hitting matches, you know, that's happened in women's wrestling army, which just from the highlights, again, I can agree with. I can. So how did you kind of feel? And then also Maria said, you know, with all the matches that are taking place, you know, she spoke about Queen Aminata versus Sky Blue. And then also the triple threat, which we touched on a little bit, Masha versus, you know, Jordan Blade versus Janai Kai. And she said that these 5 are future stars, like, but they're already stars. But you know what I mean, the future.
The big known all across the board, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that she was right because the crowd really played a huge factor in this match. They were really, and they were invested. I was invested. So, I mean, I don't know. I thought it was a really good match. And then I was going to add, oh, you know what? I was actually going to add something. And I know this is something that we don't, you know, discuss much, but I think, you know, with Women's Wrestling Army, with their growth, I think also watching this match visually, you can see them bringing what am I trying to say? Sorry, hold on. Let me collect my thoughts and let me try it again. Visually, technically, you can see them stepping up the production side is what I'm trying to say. And so, you know, with the lighting in this space and with like the camera work and the type of camera and the type of lenses, I know that's not stuff that people necessarily focus on, but I think that's something that's really important to highlight as well. Because I think that, you know, it makes the experience overall, like we're watching this from home, so we need to be able to see what's going on and have that experience. And I think that is really something that the people behind the scenes do in production. They really try to bring us in so that we can feel like we're there. And I think with this match and a few others as well, I specifically think about the triple threat with Deonna, with Tasha, with Lainey Lucky. You see, okay, like the lighting is different, the cameras are different. You see a change. Spoken like a true film school nerd. Yep. And so I would not disagree. And so I think that is really important to highlight, even though that's not something that gets, you know, we see the cool visuals, but there are people that make these visuals possible. Yeah.
That's so true though. Like, yeah, that's something like I noticed too, which I love. Like you just see it stepping up every time. Like, you know, it's really nice to see, just because I really feel like I've formed a bond with this, like, you know, brand. Like I really love watching it. So just seeing the growth obviously makes me happy. Like, so I can imagine it's like 100 times like happier for Maria because this is her baby. So yeah, it's really nice to see.
Yeah.
Let me see. And I also like the part where she talked about how Sky Blue was like willing to do whatever to get to this match. And I thought that's a great thing to hear, because, you know, just seeing how much it means, you know, because I feel like a lot of times, you know, they don't cut the same slack for women's wrestlers. And they make it seem like it's not as important to them, you know, because they're women, which is stupid, because it is important. It doesn't matter if you're a girl or boy or whatever. If you care about something, you care about it. It's not like you care differently because you're not a big, strong guy. Right? Like that stuff is irrelevant. So I love that she said that she was like willing to fly the plane herself to get there. I'm like, exactly.
Yes. And to answer your question, because I don't think I answered the question because I went off on a tangent, but to answer your question about them being future stars, absolutely. We are seeing them. We're seeing Sky Blue, man. So her trajectory, you know, from being on AEW Dark and, you know, to Rampage, and now is on Dynamite. Great for her, right? Like, good for her. So I'm really excited about her versus Queen Aminata. And you're right, all 5 of these women, they have made a lot of noise with their work with the different promotions and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I hope that we're seeing them at the top of their game. Like we see a Bianca Belair, like we see a Jade Cargill, like we see a, you know, Taya Valkyrie, or, you know, X, Y, and Z. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And then also, so then we have kind of a spotlight, which I thought was really beautiful because I do think that, the coaches and the people who take that time with the wrestlers beforehand are so like integral to like everything. So they spoke a little bit on Coach Allison Danger, and Maria spoke about how she's incredible and how she had the girls do drills before tapings, has a motherly instinct with the girls, and then also just kind of showing how helpful she was in like making sure the girls have right coming out for the entrances and all that. All this is important. This is literally what you were just talking about the stepping up the production and stepping up the look. Allison has a hand in that, so yeah, I love this. And I love how that's one thing I really, really love about Women's Wrestling Army is they put a spotlight on everyone and everyone matters. And just every part it's not like one of those things like someone's a spoke on a wheel. It's like every freaking tool, every little bolt, and it matters. And they make sure that you know it. And so I really like this. How did you feel about this?
I thought this was great. This was my, first time really digging into who Allison Danger is. So, and I like that they kind of kept it all in the family. So, finding out that she's Steve Corino's sister and, how she, and, Bobby, who announced was Steve's personal announcer for a very long time. And Allison, for the most part has retired from in the ring, wrestling, but has gone on to coach. She coached briefly with WWE. And I believe actually she's coming back soon with GCW against Billy Starks in a few weeks. So if whoever's in the Atlanta area, you might want to check that out. But I thought this was really cool that, they're highlighting the coaches because this is true. Like, right. The wrestlers, yes, they work very hard. And then you have people that are helping them to become better and keeping them and their fellow wrestlers safe. I think it's all incredibly important. And so, shout out to Allison.
Yes, shout out. A big shout out. Yes. So then we move on, and Alyssa asks, how do you feel at this stage in the game with multiple successful events under your belt? And Maria basically said, I still don't know anything. Again, when Maria says these things, it's literally like so outlandish to me because it's just like when you see her, she seems so like confident. Like it never gives nerves or, clueless. I never get that from her. I get someone who's just, self-assured and is powerful and has done this, really big, important thing. It is doing, not just did, but is doing this important thing that matters to a bunch of other women. And then she also said, she says, we're just trying to get better and put the best product out possible. And, we don't know everything. And I just, I love the authentic and honesty. Authentic honesty is the word. If that makes sense. But I just loved it. It's been the whole, like, this whole episode was just like, but how do you kind of feel about that? Everything she said.
I found it really interesting, especially when Alyssa asked her about what's next, right, for Women's Wrestling Army. And she, was like, I don't know. She's like, I'm going to be honest. I have no idea what's next. Which is like, like fingers crossed, talking to Bobby last week, he did talk about how like, the wrestling part is the easy part, but like the logistics, the everything else kind of behind the scenes that he wish he can get somebody else to run, that can be a little bit more difficult. And so I don't know, like I thought that this was very authentic and honest of her to say, hey, I don't know where we go from here, but I hope that, we're here for a long time and that she knows that it's going to be a fight. And I actually want to, it was so funny because I was on Twitter. Let me pull up this tweet. Oh, wait, hold on. Can you see me? Am I still here?
I can see you. I see you.
Good. I started.
Great.
Thank you. I started clicking around and, somebody asked her, well, I think the thread, Maria was talking about how happy she is at AEW and Ring of Honor and that, she'll probably retire there, which is awesome. And someone at Danny Black said, and don't forget your baby, Women's Wrestling Army. To which Maria replied, hopefully that will be another show under the umbrella of AEW, but I can dream. And so the fact that she put that out there, I was like, so that's where, hopefully she'd like to go with that, having Women's Wrestling Army potentially under AEW. I'm just basing it off of this tweet. So please, I don't know anything. I have no idea. I'm just looking at the tweets, y'all. So I find that really interesting, that I think that that's where she kind of wants to go with it and has ideas of how she wants to maneuver it. And also, again, that we just do not know where WWA is going to be. And yes, I'm with you, George. I hope that Women's Wrestling Army stays around, if not in this iteration, then in, however they best seem, fit. So what about you?
No, yeah, I totally agree. I really do, as I said before, I have a connection to this brand because it's something I really like. I'm a type of person, I'm a big TV, big wrestling. When I connect to a show, whether it's wrestling or reality TV or whatever, I'm down for the ride. and I'm emotionally invested. So I'm emotionally invested. So I do hope that Women's Wrestling Army is around for as long as it would like to be. And I just want to see the growth, honestly. And I know it will be there. If you have the type of wrestlers coming in, providing the matches that they have been to this day, there's no reason why we shouldn't see it grow. There's just no reason.
You're absolutely right. So I think that's it. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
I just wanted to go over the very last question that Alyssa did ask Maria, which I thought was so important, was, what does she fight for? She said equality, and not just equality in general, but equality of opportunity. And one thing that she said, give me the opportunity to fail. Don't just say I'm going to fail. I love that, because that's so important. Yeah. And you can continue talking about it.
No, you're right. That is really important, that, people that have been marginalized, they want the opportunities, instead of you just saying you can't do this. And it's well, how would you know? How do you know that? How does anybody know that? How does anybody achieve anything? Right? They're given the opportunity and they succeed and they fail, and then, the cycle continues, but you have to be provided with those opportunities first in order to showcase that. So I think that you're absolutely right, that it doesn't matter who you are. We just want the opportunity. And if we fail, that's okay, because we're human and we're allowed to fail, and we should be able to fail. And that should not then get in the way from being afforded any future opportunities. So I think that she's right, that she fights for equality. And I think she also added that she fights for family, right? She fights for her family. And I think that that's really important as well. What about, do you have more to add, Shay?
No, just I really appreciated, this entire episode. Every answer she gave, it just hit me in a way that I didn't know that it was, because it's it's important when people kind of say what you feel in a moment, and just it was so real, and I loved every answer she gave, because I feel like I could resonate with each and every one. I just have to say, thank you, Maria. If you see this, thank you for this. And it's good. It's good. I can't get the words, but it's good. It's good.
It's good. And George, what you said, when you fail, that means you win. I mean, you're absolutely right? That means that you're trying. And that means that you are trying. And man, in a world where I feel like lately you feel dumb for even trying. You feel dumb, or people want to make you feel dumb for even trying a thing. It's refreshing. And no matter what industry you're in, whether you're on television or you're doing your thing, by yourself in your own little vacuum, the fact that you're trying, that's the most important. And I think I like that those themes that are universal, that are applied here to Women's Wrestling Army, they can be applied to anything. So, yeah.
Beautifully said. All right, guys. Well, that is the end. Catch us next week. Again, we have 2 big main event matches. We have Janai Kai versus Masha Slamovich versus Jordan Blade. And we have Queen Aminata versus Sky Blue. So you definitely don't want to miss that. And we definitely want to be able to go back and forth with you guys and see how you felt. So hopefully see you next week.
Yes, thank you so much. And then don't forget to check out those matches. You can check them out. Pro Wrestling TV, or if you're a part of Brand Army, you can check them out there. But yeah, until then, I will. Shay, where can we find you? I know you like to do all the stuff at after NXT. At least tell them about NXT.
Yes, you can catch me back here in another hour for NXT After Show right here on Women's Wrestling Talk podcast, the number 1 women's wrestling show on the planet. When I get my British accent down, it's really over.
It is over. It is over for all you actors. Please, Shay is coming through. She's taking all the roles.
Literally.
You can find me on Twitter at Aisha Watches. I realized that I've only been using my first name on here, and I'm like, people are going to be like, "What? She only has 1 name?" No, I have 2, first and last name. You can find me on Twitter. I'll be on there tweeting about stuff that I'm watching. So, yeah, check us out.
It's true. It's true. I see them.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, guys, goodbye. And we're going to leave you with this amazing outro.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the number 1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Women's Wrestling Talk, the number 1 women's wrestling show on the planet.